So we're going to set this one up, or he's already set up. This is just a solid setup to really keep the blood flow in that area. He's kind of bouncing around. He's having to support this position. But go ahead and start moving, DJ. He's in this seated setup here. Abs, ribs, kind of nice and tight. And I'm going to let him walk through what he's feeling.
So we set up this band, we go in between them. So I've got pressure on my backside of my wrist, my front side of my wrist, and really trying to push up as high as I can. And then I'm just going to try to get into a rhythm. I lock everything down and try to keep it moving. 20 reps.
You're just bouncing back and forth. Make sure you're not reaching your ribs, though. We're really getting that overhead position from his shoulder. And he's just kind of going back and forth, that reciprocal nature of bouncing back and forth, front side of the shoulder, back side of the shoulder, reaching straight up to the ceiling like DJ said, but just going back and forth. Slow it down or be a little bit tighter, faster, tighter, faster, tighter, faster, tighter, faster, tighter, faster. Beautiful. Switch sides.
You can feel pumping that almost immediate.
It's immediate.
Yeah. Everything starts to tingle, but in a good way. Yeah, I mean, it almost feels like you just said a lateral raises, but without the stress and arthritis.
The shoulder joint is the joint of punishment when it comes to the military population. We've all done probably thousands of push-ups, front-leaning rest, pull-up, being overhead, being stable without raising the ribs, accessing this overhead position. This is just a solid setup to really keep the blood flow in that area and challenge that joint from this compromised position being overhead. Bouncing back and forth, contracting, relaxing, contracting, relaxing, contracting, relaxing. Really challenging that joint to be stable.
What I really like about this is because we're running the two opposing bands, it keeps me from really leaning too far back. Think about like a pitcher leaning all the way far back, and I've still got some instability in my shoulder, and the last kind of dislocated came through my armpit, and that is the worst thing you could ever feel. So this really allows me, I can still get my range of motion, I can still get the blood flow, but I don't have to worry about overextending or compromising and leaning too far back into it. Now I've got a spot to kind of return to.
And he's also in this seated setup, so he can kind of be mindful about where his hips are, about where his torso is. If he was standing, maybe he's rocking back, but since he's seated and locked down, he really can just focus on this and keep this thing the main thing. Another one we'll do is a bottoms-up carry. So once again, DJ talked about the instability, really challenging that rotator cuff. So we'll go with a waiter's setup. So he's kind of in this 90-degree bend of the elbow, and he's really just holding this here. So we're thinking an isometric from holding it, but he's going to walk. So it isn't isometric for holding, but there's a lot of instability because every footstep he takes, there's fluctuation that's occurring. He's kind of bouncing around. He's having to support this position. His ribs are still down. He's still locked in. Elbows kind of off to the side a little bit, really challenging that rotator cuff to hold this position. Money, DJ. I really like that one for challenging that rotator cuff, man.
Yeah.
If you're someone that's trying to find a place to start with the shoulder, that one right there is easy setup, and this one as well. If you can't hold a kettlebell, you can just go with a dumbbell, but just holding this position and really asking this joint to support it, it's a very challenging position, especially when you add the walking element.
Those are always great, man. Good warm-up, not too fatiguing, but just enough to get all the ancillary muscles firing up.
It primes it. It primes the tissue.
And it's hard, too. I mean, got to have the wrist locked in, really ties everything, all the movements together.
When it comes to warm-ups, we always want to do enough to prep, not enough to fatigue. And I think these two, they're not going to really fatigue you so to hold you back from, pressing up overhead for a lot of reps or holding you back on weight, but it's really going to prep that joint so that when you are pressing, you're like, oh, I feel a lot more stable because I just challenged such instability aspect of the shoulder.
One of my other ones is the shoulder airplane.
Oh, close chain, yep.
But not, the alternating is great. But we were down at KTC, we did them on single arm.
Mm-hmm.
And the emphasis for me, as we open this up, is like try to come back down. I'm trying to hover my hand 1 inch above the ground. And then I'm trying to flex this side as much as I can to create that stability.
Yeah.
Same thing, open back up, trying to really push my fingertips to the ceiling, trying to make it harder than it is. Yeah, for me, 3 or 4 each side, a couple rounds of that, it really, really ties everything in nice.
Let's get a couple of those.
Yeah, so kind of general push-up position. All the way up, full arm extension, trying to make it super tight, trying not to rotate over too much and lose my positioning.
Oh, money. If you watch DJ, he's squaring his pelvis up, he's squaring his shoulders up. He's really challenging that ball and socket joint of the shoulder. We always remember that the hips are a ball and socket joint, but for some reason we always forget that the shoulder is, and the shoulder has more of a range of accountability than the hips. So we really want to challenge that. And like DJ said, a closed chain position when it comes to spreading those fingers out, getting those challenging, the tissue going up into the elbow, up into the shoulder. And then if you kind of, man, when you're holding this, go ahead and rotate up. Look at the beautiful, I got the stacked of the scaps, and as he rotates in, as DJ said, rotate in. Look at the scap holding position. All this tissue around it is having to support this. His core is involved. This is a complete warm-up when it comes to the shoulder, prepping through a closed chain movement, activating what's going on with his torso, really involving a full body aspect. Man, I can't agree more, DJ. This is a great movement.
That and then push up the fight.
Oh, shit. This is one we've added in, man, definitely years ago. But when it comes to prepping the scaps are a couple bones in the body that don't touch other bones. They move based on their ability to move around the rib cage with other tissues that support that movement. So as he's going up into this high pike position, he's getting this upward movement, and then he's going back down into a push-up position, getting the retraction, getting that movement of the scaps. DJ, I don't even program these half the time, and he'll be down doing this when we have a press day. So I think you're probably a pretty big fan of this movement.
Well, this is my very first confidence builder to getting my shoulders overhead. Not actually put them overhead, put them at a 45 degree, really extending all the way out, trying to get full arm extension with some pressure and some weight.
Yeah. And then just watch his hands, full spread of his hands, challenging forearms, working up to the elbow, just integrating everything. Remember, the shoulder doesn't move alone. So all three of these movements involve other parts of our body. Our body moves as a system. We should prepare it as such.
Awesome.
Good shit.
Shoulder mobility, boys. Motion is lotion. Apply daily. Still have to and put on a t-shirt and we're trademark it. Appreciate you, boys. Thoughts of